film and kind of, you give context to the film for students so they know what they're watching and why they're watching it. And as they're watching and as you're watching, these are just some example questions to ask in your kind of notice side of that piece of paper. So it's basic observations as simple as like, who is talking, you know, how do they identify, what's your first impression of them, what are they saying, maybe quotes that they've said that resonate with you as you're watching, where are they in the world, how has this perspective challenged your own. Little stuff like that will really kind of trigger things in students as they're watching it. So Molly has put that in the Google Drive. Thanks, Molly. If you guys wanted to.
I don't know if it's there yet, actually, but it should be in like a minute or two.
Okay, great, thank you. So I am gonna share with you guys the link of a short film. It's 13 minutes long. It's on YouTube. It is by an Indigenous filmmaker who is Cree from Canada. And we actually had her for our Filmmakers in the School program a few years ago that we got to show a while back. But it's a really great example of Indigenous made documentary film. And so I just thought this would be a great way for us to kind of run through the exercise and talk a little bit about what we noticed, maybe some difficulties in doing this exercise, but also just showing how accessible and easy it can be. Oh, great, thanks, Molly. So it should be in the chat room. If we all, feel free to stop your video if you don't want us to watch you watching a film, but we'll just take about 13 minutes to watch this. We'll come back together as a group and kind of break down that exercise sheet. If you guys can view it in your Google Drive. And if not, that piece of paper is a great way to do that. And then we'll just have some closing remarks and wrap up. So we will see you guys in a bit. All right, and we think we're kind of, we all finished up the film? Maybe a thumbs up from everybody. Awesome. Just allowing for a little bit of time for loading and whatnot. Sweet. Well, I had written up an example. I don't know if anybody used or had access to the Notice Wonder viewing sheet in the Google Drive. No. Oh, wait, you know what I can do? I'll share this link for you so you can take a peek at it. So that should be for everybody if you just want to look at it. But otherwise, it's not that you need it. It's just a nice resource, and we've kind of built this into all of our curriculum. So as we're watching, students have a really easy way to just have a piece of paper that looks a little bit more official. But I think I shared with what we use for it. Piece of paper works fine. But I'm just kind of curious before I share with you things that I wrote down and how I might engage with that film and the questions I might ask. Maybe some teachers want to share what they noticed about the film. Maybe some questions that prompted just by watching it. Carolyn, maybe you want to share a few thoughts about the film?
I can jump in and save it, Carolyn.
Oh yeah, sure.
I just thought it was set up well, and that like obviously the memories are going to be bad, but why were the memories bad? Why is he never coming back to this place? And then I think too, you can tell that language is going to be really important. Just in the opening graphic, you've got the code talker, but then also I assume that's Cree language, or the symbols for the language. I'm not familiar with them, but so I think it's, you know, in terms of symbolism or how to use your titling, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. These kind of layers of cultural preservation there, and especially within documentary, I think it does a really good job of hearing something, hearing the sound of it, and as someone's speaking it, kind of adding those elements there as well. Does anybody else want to share a few details they noticed?
Wearing their uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then also on that note too, just kind of the destructive nature and language being used as a weapon. I can't. Can you read what Carolyn says? Do you mind typing it into the?
back.
She can't get back in, and Jesse got kicked out also.
Oh,
Weird. I don't
Kicked out of the whole Zoom meeting.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Did they try logging back in?
Working on it.
He's working on trying to log back in.
Okay.
I wonder if there's like a link problem or
I don't see anybody.
is that just within the Google Drive or? We'll send a link and because this is being recorded, so we can send a link to everybody if there's technical issues are a little bit out of my hands, but just a little overview thing. I just wanted to share my screen to kind of show teachers a little bit of how the Notice Wonder worksheet can be used. You guys had some really great feedback. There's a lot of different things we can do to explore these things. So for example, for me, I noticed opening scene of wildflowers and prairie, what this might be significant of open field, maybe memories, the significance of that location. I definitely ask like, where are we? How did we get here? I also thought it was interesting that we were talking about Checkers from the perspective of his brother. I mean, obviously he is passed, but there is the significance of familial closeness there, and the nicknames there kind of signify closeness, familiarity, that kind of stuff. It's also a really great opportunity to talk about Cree culture. They identify as Cree, and I thought it's interesting that kind of he's said from the beginning he's British and Cree, and kind of that colonial history there, or you know, if that comes into play here, and also to kind of talk about where that Indian land is and where this film might be based and focused on, the use of voiceover in the native language. I think somebody pointed that out, the significance of recording that and seeing it, being able to kind of work with that. I also thought an interesting point too of working with archival footage. This film talks a little bit about representation and not getting credit where credit is due. And you know, why wouldn't they be recognized? And you can see that in the footage. There's a lot of, you know, young white men mainly being on screen and that are captured in this to kind of show an example of how people that weren't captured on camera weren't given that kind of credit. So that's just like a few different examples of, you can go a lot of different avenues with a short film like that. It incorporates really well into the classroom if it's shorter, and different questions to ask. And that one I like is because it's super basic, it's really simple. And then there's a lot of different utilities and questions to ask there when we're talking about perspective. On that note, do you want to go to the second to last slide there, Beth? Oh, next one, sorry.
Also, in the next couple minutes, I know some of you already saw it, but if you would take the time to either write yes or no in the chat box for if you need renewal credits. Just want to let everyone know that would be really great, because that's how we're going to take attendance for this class for later.
Cool, thank you so much, Molly. And then just to kind of wrap things up, we'll have some time here, a few minutes for questions here at the end. I really appreciate you guys sitting through all this. But just to kind of recap a lot of what we've talked about as far as challenges and resources that we have here for integrating Indian Ed for All, and kind of how documentary film can be a resource. You know, I am a personal resource. If anybody, I'll drop my email in the mailbox if anybody has any questions for whether it's free links for films online you're having trouble with. We have a few really good resources that I always point teachers to, but just the visual medium of documentary and learning through seeing, it's a great way to mix it up online with things going remote. I think students are really responsive to that. Providing the space for interpersonal engagement is really important, and that's something that the film club really brings to the table, encouraging students to ask their own questions and voice their opinions. And the partnerships that we've built through that so that you guys can kind of hop in on that and voice your opinion here. And also just seeing creative ways of making documentary filmmaking to inspire creative thinking around Indigenous history and storytelling is something that is a huge asset and value. And we hope that we can help you guys with that. So I am going to drop my email here in the group chat, but if anybody has any surging questions here before we sign off, please punt them to the group. We are here and listening.
Hey, Julia, I'd just like to add for what you just said, to inspire creative thinking. That was the whole purpose behind traditional storytelling. It was always for a purpose of learning or to think critically or creatively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much, Carolyn. And what school are you? What grade level do you teach, and what school are you at?
Okay, so I'm the Indian Ed for All elementary coach for all 22 schools in Billings.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I'm curious, has anybody ever contacted from Billings or been a part of any of this? I would like to definitely participate in something. I have a lot of ideas in areas I'd like to pursue.
Yeah, we would love to have you. I don't know if we have had anybody from Billings. We might have had, it might be on Inspired Classrooms then, because they kind of navigate the teachers that are participating. But I put my email in the chat box. If you want to send me an email, we can find a time to chit chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts and get Billings in on the mix. It'd be great. Thanks so much.
Julia, do you have to be in the club, the club to get the 3-week online course? And
No, you
okay.
do not. It's the film club is an incentive for the discussion for the film club. But if your students sign up, they can sign up outside of the film club. And the film club is just kind of centered around the discussions that we have once a month. So they are kind of an added complement to the curriculum, but the students are not required to participate.
Okay.
I mean, all of this is optional, and we're working on, I would love in the next year or so to get this accredited so that it complements curriculum that's required for teachers to teach. And right now that's, we're just kind of in the mix of that. So hopefully down the road, that's an option.
Yeah, I'm interested in bringing it. It would work great for my creative writing class in the nonfiction unit. It's just our schedule is so up in the air right now.
Of course, yeah.
So
and we are trying to kind of get this going really quickly so that teachers have a lot of time to be able to incorporate this, but we want this to be available online. The only other thing with the films they'll be viewing, we only have them available for a few months. So the film club films that they can watch. After that time, I'll put in other films, I think, to that don't have licensing requirements for viewing. But the incentive of the film club is that a lot of film distribution companies have, a few $100s for educational licenses. And so that's something that Big Sky eats so that teachers can participate for free. And it's also a way to kind of get teachers and students watching films that they might not otherwise have access to or aren't able to pay to be able to view those. But,
thanks.
yeah, feel free to email me and then I can add you to our email list with any updates or questions that you have or any other resources. If you're just trying to find a film and you're having trouble, we can be a resource there as well. All right, you guys, that was 2 hours. Thank you so much for sitting through all that. And I feel free to browse our website too. We have a lot of other ed programs. We try to offer it so you can insert and play. I saw some familiar faces here today that have been involved in our programs for many, many years. And we have these programs so they can be resources for you and that we have students engaging with them and asking questions and getting excited by film and showing them that documentary film does not need to be boring or dry. There's a lot of different ways to share and tell their stories and hopefully inspire them to make films of their own in intentional and creative ways or watch documentary films in a little different way. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I hope you guys are enjoying your conference and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julia.
I shared the link with the presentation if you guys needed access to the PowerPoint link, which is a Google slide.
Thank you, Julia, and everybody for what you do with Indian Ed.
Yeah, thank you, Carolyn. It's great to meet you, and hopefully we'll get Billings on board. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I hope so. That'd be great.
Great. We'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.